All right, let's do this. Let's hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish. I'm merely Brad Powers. Before we already get to week 11 already of the college football season, we'll always take a look back at what we just witnessed as far as week 10. And of course, at the end of the show, if you want to follow or fade, because the last few weeks haven't been great, including last week, another 2-3 performance, we'll have best bets at the end of the show. First and foremost, Mr. Knish, I do it each and every week. I do it a lot of weeks after losses. But how about your Detroit Lions? I actually faded them last week, got my ass kicked.
I mean, is this a second half turnaround? Does this team have a chance to make the Vikings to get going there? I mean, listen, I know the excitement is back. Danny Campbell coached them up, and hey, got a few healthy bodies back. Ended Aaron Rodgers' career in Detroit on Sunday. I'm hearing he's just gonna do Joe Rogan podcast after this. What a phenomenal effort. And you have time to get excited again, baby.
Did you bet on him or against him? Because there's a lot of money on Green Bay last week.
I did not have any action in that one. Unfortunately, I should have got back on the wagon. So nothing on that one for me. Just got to enjoy seeing the first terrible Green Bay. I was 35 years old. Been my entire life I haven't seen a bad Green Bay team. And finally I got to enjoy a Packers team that just sucks.
One more. I know this is a college football show, and we'll talk college football for an hour straight. College basketball opens tonight. Are you personally doing anything in college hoops?
I bet a lot of college hoops for people. I was out late at casinos last night betting teams that I don't know. I don't actually hate. I just fill orders for college hoops. I don't actually like watching college basketball or taking part in college basketball. But yeah, have a lot of money. One of those things that is kind of nice where I just make the bets. The bets go into the accounts. I don't watch the games. I don't follow the games. I just look at the sheet at the end of the week. There's no sweats or any of that. Unlike this sport where I'm living and dying with the results. So a little more stress-free. How about you?
Very similar situation. Everyone's asking me, hey, college hoops start. Need your picks? I'm like, I don't have any picks.
No.
Here's some people to follow because more likely than not, I'm following. If I'm betting, I'm following. I don't originate. I mean, I like to originate. I like to sweat college football. College basketball, no. I mean, see me in March is what I told people. I'll originate then where it can be just simple handicapping 101 when it comes to conference tournaments and March Madness. So, yeah, I have a similar situation. Although I will say this to anybody out here watching this, if you have a limited bankroll and you are just in the business of wanting to make money, I'm here to tell you, take a couple small conferences in college hoops, studying them, and this time of year, especially in November and December, you can know more than the market on small college basketball games. Just telling you. I like college football, though. And speaking of college football, we had a bunch of big games and big-time surprises, big-time performances. We'll start with the game at least coming into the week that we thought was going to be the biggest game, or at least making the most noise, that being Tennessee, Georgia. Georgia, from start to finish, the better team. In fact, I was a little disappointed they kept the foot off the gas pedal offensively against Tennessee. I'm going to ask you this, because this is the situation I was in with regards to this game over the weekend. It only happens a couple times a year where I didn't have much on it. Sure, I had a little bit of Georgia, a little bit under, but I was rooting for the industry to win. And what do I mean by the industry? I mean any podunk, redneck, hillbilly was seeing Tennessee getting more than a touchdown and wanting to bet the Volunteers. Anytime that type of stuff happens, I hope those guys with 8 teeth in their mouth get their remaining 8 teeth kicked down their throat. So I was happy Georgia won and covered because I didn't want to hear how great Tennessee was for another week. I know we both had a lot of future liabilities. Hendon Hooker, Heisman probably might be up in smoke. Tennessee to win the SEC, up in smoke. I get all that. A lot of liability lost in that game, but just me personally, I was kind of happy to see Georgia win. You?
I obviously, I would have I would have liked the Tennessee to be a little bit more competitive or get out to a hot start, so I could have taken some live risk off there. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those that as the game got closer, especially if you follow the markets and that, you had a feeling that Georgia was definitely the side to be on. I would have, especially for Hooker tickets, as we've said, it's hard to see a pathway now for him to get there. I will say the one thing, and so I did make a futures bet after this game. Want to get your opinion on it?
All right.
I think with Bama losing and Clemson losing, Tennessee has 3 poverty opponents left. I think 11-1 Tennessee is in the playoff. I bet some 25-1. I don't think that I think their path is super clear now, and I think they're getting in over one-loss Michigan if the Michigan loses to Ohio State. I think Big 12 cannibalized itself. ACC's out. I think they're in. Like I really would be.
25-1 to get to the playoff?
No, 25-1 to. I think to win the net. I think they are in. I think they're going to win out, and I think they're in.
Well, I mean, certainly. I mean, they got 3, the tomato cans left. So, yeah, I could see that. Certainly. I mean, the results, look, it was a bad Saturday afternoon for Tennessee. It was a good Saturday night for Tennessee with those 2 games, and we'll get to those 2 games. I could definitely see it. And look, a one-loss SEC team's going to get the benefit of the doubt. You're right. They would have been 3rd in the pecking order had Alabama won out and beat Georgia. And Georgia having that win over Tennessee would have fell 3rd in that line. We'll talk about these games, but TCU, people expecting them to win out. Not happening, folks. There's a reason they're a touchdown underdog this week. Pac-12 probably beat up on each other, and I'm just not sure. The good thing that, if Oregon wins out, then you can compare losses to Georgia for Oregon and Tennessee. All right, one team lost by 46, the other lost by 14. So I think that would be a little trump card for Tennessee. So as I'm talking, I can see your position. I've talked myself into it that I think Tennessee has a pretty good shot of still making the playoffs.
And I don't think they're going to win the national title. I think there'll be a dog go, a touchdown dog go. Ohio State would, a Georgia rematch would be tough. But I just they, going into the weekend, they're 10-1, 12-1 the wish. They come out even after the loss and are probably in a better position to make the playoff now. I just don't see a scenario if they win the remaining 3 games that they're going to get left out. A lot of, TCU would have to win out. Michigan would have to beat Ohio State. Oregon or USC, one of those teams have to win out. You need a number of things to happen, I think, for them not to get in. And I don't think then they'll get matched up in a rematch with Georgia. So, I think the committee would want them to play probably in Ohio State or Michigan. So I like their position better if from a futures perspective, and obviously a better number coming out of the weekend, even with the loss.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've talked me into it. After this broadcast is over, I'm going to shop and look for best future spot for Tennessee. I hear you. You don't do that too often. Look, you're a man of many opinions, and you're a man with no filter, and I appreciate it. I catch strays sometimes. If you follow Twitter in the last week, you'll know what I'm talking about.
There were some strays coming at you from different angles there this week.
Hey, man, I thought I thought it was funny. I mean, I think you can be pretty funny, to be honest with you. Your bluntness and your storytelling can be really funny. I appreciate following you on Twitter, even if I catch a couple strays. Moving along, another big game. How about the balls? That's right, the balls, Brian Kelly to go for 2. Honestly, had he converted or not converted it, it was the right call. I understand. You're an underdog. You got one play to beat Alabama, who was already, confused defensively. Even after they called timeout, they couldn't line up right. And LSU pulls a big-time upset. Double-digit underdog, wins outright. Death Valley was rocking. I'm not saying that they were clearly the better team, but they were clearly the right side from start to finish, because I'm here to tell you Bryce Young didn't have it from start to finish for Alabama, starting with that early interception in the end zone. He completes less than 50% of his passes. And a guy that I love to hate, big win for Brian Kelly. One of his biggest wins of his entire career, to beat Saban in year 1. There he is.
I tell you, I liked the LSU of 6 weeks ago when we thought Brian Kelly was going to crash and burn, and now the guy's
he still can.
He's in the driver's seat to make the SEC title in year 1. And I will give him like the improvement you've seen in this LSU team from after their initial loss, when you've got some of the Keyshawn Boutte trying to quit the team, and guys where they're going to leave the portal to be able to somehow rally the troops and get them playing good football here as we go into November. Very impressive. That's what you pay the guy the big bucks for. Yeah. I don't know how he does it. I don't know. I wouldn't want to follow the man into the trenches, but I gotta give him all the credit in the world for that one. And are we seeing? I'm going to ask you this for a different game that we both had bet on here in a minute. But are we seeing the initial chinks in the Alabama relinquishing the throne as the top team of college football? And does Nick Saban, how much longer does he coach? It looks like they've lost their position at top. I think there's a lot of factors, including the NIL stuff, that make other powers even more competitive with them. Is this the kind of the start of the kingdom falling apart here for Alabama?
It is. Honestly, I think the start started happening when we look back at it 5-6 years from now. I think it started last season, because I started looking at their performances the last 2 years. We're not overreacting to one game, one loss for Alabama on the final play. There's 10 games the last 2 years where big-time opponents, whether most of them on the road, where Alabama's fallen short of expectation, that being the spread by more than 10 points per game in these games. And these are big games. You can't question, they're a 42-point favorite and only won by 31 type of stuff. We're talking the biggest games of the year consistently, game after game. Alabama falling short, not doing it's the little things for me, man. Says they're not well coached. Penalties, pre-snap penalties, just the turnovers, just that they're not clean. They don't look. If you're an Alabama fan, do you really enjoy watching this team the last 2 years? I wouldn't. They're frustrating to watch. I think at the very least he's going to fire both coordinators at the end of the season. But come on. The one thing you can count on, look, Saban's the GOAT, but Father Time's the actual GOAT. And he's going to be 72. Yeah. And he's going to probably be, redoing the coaching staff yet again. And here's the thing. He's got more competition. Brian Kelly just beat him in year 1. Brian Kelly's going to have a better roster starting next year. That's going to be tough. Who does Auburn hire? Say they hire Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze has already beaten Saban multiple times. And now he's going to be at Auburn, at a better place, at least with more money than Ole Miss. I don't see it. The SEC's tougher. Obviously Georgia. Look, when you compare what Georgia's defense did against Tennessee compared to Alabama, Georgia is what Alabama was for a decade. How they play. Well, they're clean. And here's the thing. Georgia's not relying on a bunch of transfers year in and year out. Georgia just lost 15 guys to the draft, and yet they shut down that Vaughn and Tennessee offense. So I'm with you. This is it. I really, truly believe this is it, because the reality is without Bryce Young, Alabama's an 8-4, 9-3 team each of the last 2 years. Yep. That shouldn't be the case with all that five-star talent. I don't care who the quarterback is.
No, and I hear, and I was trying Trip Tepper there in the it's not, we're not saying that Alabama is like going to be this like 4-win, like, the program's a disaster. We're talking about them being at the pinnacle on the top of the mountain, national title favorite every year is probably done. And as you said, like, you've seen these legendary coaches, whether it be the Joe Paternos or the Bobby Bowdens, once you cross that into the set, like, it's just hard to keep it churning there once you get over the 70. And then Saban's done it longer and better than most. But you've even seen what Belichick here as he's getting up there. Like, it's just hard to keep that elite level of play and just your overall organization as you get into your 70s. And I think the recruiting thing is a bit. I think it is going to be harder every year for him to recruit, especially with their staff turnover and the other NIL stuff going on. Just going to be harder for him to do. And so, I think their time as being, the unchallenged number one is just over with.
One other thing I'll mention, the Trip in the comments. Alabama lost 2 coin flip games. I'll say they won 2 coin flips against Texas and Texas A&M. I don't know if they beat Texas if Quinn Ewers doesn't get hurt. And Texas A&M, we're down to the final play. They're throwing in the end. Well, they should be throwing in the end zone, Jimbo, with a shitty play call. I mean, if you have a creative play call there, you probably lose to A&M. So, I mean, again, I don't think we're overreacting. Go back through it. Go look at the results from last year and this year. There's literally like 10 games where Alabama, it's like a one-possession type of game. That was not the case. Just a matter of, the 2020 season when they beat everybody by 4 touchdowns per game. I mean, 72. I mean, to get it going at 72. I know what it's like, going into 40 compared to what it was at 30. I can't imagine doing it at 72, even though he's probably in better shape than I am at 72 compared to there. But let's move on to another game, and it's going to lead me into best bets because I forgot to mention them. I mean, I didn't skip over them because we had a 2-3 day. I skipped over it purposely because we're going to talk about a best bet loser. Clemson. We had Clemson on the show. I'll be honest with you. I'm not surprised that it lost or Notre Dame won. I'm just surprised how it went down. If you would have gave me a stat line that Drew Pine would throw for less than 100 yards in the game, I've been like, that sounds right. He stinks.
Yep.
And look, I mean, some people might say, well, Notre Dame got a punt block touchdown. Notre Dame got a 96-yard pick six. I mean, take those out. It's a close game. No, I'm here to tell you it wasn't that close watching that game. Notre Dame manhandled Clemson at the line of scrimmage. And for Clemson to be off a bye, I mean, in the national title picture, and to get manhandled against a team that's, playing offense with one arm tied behind their back, they can't throw the football. How does that happen? I mean, that was, to me, as a program for Clemson, that was a program like earthquake type game, meaning like, I mean, that should shake them to their core. Like something's really messed up here. And I'm not sure it's a one-off game. That's something that reverberates well into the offseason. I'm totally stunned what Notre Dame did to Clemson. Unfortunately for the backers, including myself, no chance in hell. In fact, my dumbass even bet Clemson in the second half -3, thinking that, I got something here. They'll come back. I still don't believe in Drew Pine. They'll come back, make it a game. No, they didn't.
I mean, I think that this is year 2 of the offense being like functionally broken. And I know they Tony Elliott leaves and took his stench to Virginia, but it's nothing as they haven't. I don't know what they're, and this is where Dabo gets himself. And we just talked about Alabama falling off on the pinnacle here of Dabo being a guy who likes to keep it internal, very much a loyalist, keep the staff. I don't know if they can fix this offense internally, or they need to go outside and make. I don't know if he's willing to do that or willing or able to do that. It's still right. It is I totally agree with Ryan B. Stale offensive scheme. Don't have an elite quarterback, and I'll tell you right now. I know everybody like DJU. We gonna call for Klubnik is not ready. He's not Trevor Lawrence. He is not ready to come. You've seen him come into multiple games this year, and nothing's really changed in terms of the offensive effectiveness. So They don't have the same wide receiver talent. The scheme is stale. They've never been a team that's produced a ton of elite offensive line talent here. And I got Will Shipley is a nice college player. He's not an elite a guy that you can just like do what Blake Horum's doing in Michigan, where you can just hand him the ball 30 times a game and that's your offense. He's not that level of player. Yep. And I will be. This is going to be a critical offseason for Dabo, because they need to, if they don't change something, and you go into next year. And I tell you what's keeping him afloat is the ACC is an absolute dumpster. So if that change, if Florida State keeps coming up, or you get, what if Miami can? I don't know. I know they're spending a lot of money that they might as well throw into the Atlantic Ocean. But I don't know. I'm just telling you, again, it's for different reasoning than what we talked about with Alabama. But Clemson here, you're seeing some cracks in the foundation that they need to make changes this offseason.
I don't think he does, because it's only 1 year. And you heard him in the postgame say, it's not like we're 5-3 or 4-4. We're 8-1. And obviously they're going to be favored in their last 3 games. So I think the schedule's actually not doing them any favors. You mentioned the ACC stinks. Last year's team in another conference probably loses 5 games instead of 3. This year's team's a 3-4 loss team in another conference. I'm even talking if he's in a Pac-12. The ACC is the worst Power 5 conference right now in college football, so he's getting propped up by then. I don't think he makes changes, because he admits weakness. I made a mistake. 1 year he gets rid of the guys that he just promoted from within. I think he probably gives it another year. That'll be another mistake and gets them further behind. So as a college football fan, I'm actually happy that Alabama and Clemson are showing some chinks. It's time for some new blood up there at the top. As a fan of the sport, I'm actually enjoying it. Didn't enjoy Saturday night with the Clemson ticket, but it is what it is. Another couple games I want to get to. Liberty, Hugh Freeze, who already mentioned his name, going into Arkansas and winning that game. I'm a lot of the talks about him possibly getting a bigger job. Why isn't the talk on Liberty being the team to get the New Year's Six game? I don't get that, because their only losses by 1 point against Wake Forest, the team that they should have won the game. It was turnovers that did him in that game. He's got a third-string quarterback, and he beats Arkansas, legitimately beats them. If they won out, depending on Tulane's situation, if Tulane doesn't win out and has 2 losses, if they're the only one loss, non-Power 5 team, why isn't Liberty the choice? That's just me. That's a little soapbox there. Did you catch that game at all?
I did. As soon as it was turning into a potential upset special, I put it on. This is, I put Hugh Freeze in my personal feeling, the Brian Kelly bin of guys who I'm not a huge fan of on a personal. He's kind of a whack job, but the man can coach football. I'll give him credit. This is a guy that lost a second-round NFL quarterback, and they're better this year. And they've been down to their QB3 and QB4 in some games, and they're a better team this year. And he's doing it at a place that, I'm not the easiest place to recruit. I got to give him all the credit. I know it's got to be the right place to take there's only some jobs that are going to take on Hugh Freeze, because he's an eclectic personality, and it's got to be. I think it's got to be a Southern school and all that. But the man can coach. The man can coach football. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if Auburn rolls the dice there. But yeah, I got to give him all the credit in the world for the team not losing Malik Willis and being better this year than they were last year. So yeah, I agree with it. Especially with that win, when no other G5 team being super elite, why not?
Let me ask you this. Put yourself in his shoes. You just signed an 8-year guaranteed $40 million contract. You're at Liberty. You can go 8-4 and be okay there. Would you take an SEC job with all the pressure? I guess you got to ask yourself, is money that important to you? I don't know if professional gamblers are the ones to ask with that, but money good enough, or do you just want to win the national title? So he's got to ask himself that. But I'll be honest with you, $5 million a year at a job like that, where I don't know if I'm leaving. What say you? What's your answer to that?
He's definitely like, we don't, we don't want to get religious or pub, but he's, obviously a very religious guy, which works at Liberty. And I think some of his past transgress, like, he's not a guy who can take a Pac-12 job or something. He's got to be in the right area, which I think Liberty is a good spot for him. As you said, he's getting paid pretty well. They're putting some money into the program. The expectations are different. But, coaches they seem to be wired differently. Where, they want to go. He's been to the SEC. He can come back and play at a school that can probably compete for a national title. So I agree with you. I think, from if outside looking in, he's in a great spot. Do I think, though, he'll end up rolling the dice for a bigger job eventually, if not this offseason? Yes.
Let's talk about another coach with a big contract in your neck of the woods. I'll tell you, the world was against them last week, and rightfully so for what happened in the post-game tunnel there up in Ann Arbor. Market was certainly against Old Sparty last week. The line moved a touchdown against them. They go into Illinois and win outright there. Box score said they probably should have lost, but I would say this: they were clearly the right side. You gonna dap up your boy Tuck? Tuck coming?
No, you know what? Mark D'Antonio was in the Brian Kelly bin for me of hated coaches that I would. I think he's a reasonable. The issue for Mel Tucker is he got paid like he's a top 3 coach in the country. He's not a top 3. He's just not a bad. It's like you give a MLB player a $300 million contract, and then if he's not the best player in the league, he's getting criticized. So I think the Tucker criticism comes from the fact that somebody at Michigan State decided to give him $100 million guaranteed. So if you had a more reasonable deal, I don't think you would get the same scrutiny. He's recruiting pretty well. Great job rallying the troops there. And again, I think he's a above average football coach. Is he a guy who I'd want on the hook for 10 years, $100 million? No, but he does. They need to switch out some. This is where I don't know how loyal. They need to switch out some coordinators there. I think the Scotty Hadelson DC is not working out. But he's recruiting pretty well. Good job getting the team rallied back up. And probably I think it's a team that he took over when Mark D'Antonio was done there. There was not a lot of left in the cupboard. And so he's had to bring in, a ton of these massive portal classes, and that's tough. That's not really how you want to build a team. And so it worked last year with Kenneth Walker. Hasn't worked as well this year for talent-wise. So, but I think he's going to bring some guys in, so they should be back on the trending up.
There he is, Crestman. Finally, I was wondering where he was today. I agree. There he is. Yeah.
It's coming, baby. They're trying to flip Oregon's 5-star. I don't know if Michigan Sparty's got the money for Dante Moore, but they're giving it a go.
I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know if you followed recruiting. I'm hearing whispers of that too. Holy cow! That would be talk about earth shattering. I mean, if they got the money to get him to stay relatively close to home, oh my goodness, that would be a program-changing recruit if they got Dante Moore, especially away from the Nike money.
I know. So there's a guy, Michigan State big booster. His name's Matt Ishbia. He owns United Wholesale Mortgage. He's actually trying to buy either a pro football team, pro basketball team right now. He's the one who bankrolled the Tuck contract. He's pumping a lot of money into the program, so they're doing some unique stuff with NIL. And Dante Moore was a...
You've heard that too about Dante Moore? I thought it was just some message board.
Yeah. No, so he was a guy who when things start, when he didn't get the Notre Dame position, when CJ Carr went up to there, what schools did he go visit? Miami, LSU, A&M, Oregon. What does that mean to me? That means you want to get paid. So what did he do? He went to one of the schools, he got paid. So if a school close to home is going to match that, maybe it's a possibility. I would say unlikely because of the way Oregon's playing and, their offense and Phil Knight being able to match that. But, hey, they're throwing their hat in the ring. Why not?
That's why I'm doing this show, because on a betting show, you don't get in the weeds on recruiting too much. And that's why he is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Joey Knish. Another team, another first-year coach, speaking of NIL, because since we're talking about it, NIL hasn't, made a difference. It's made a difference on the recruiting trail, not on the field, though.
I know.
I mean, the Miami Hurricanes it's as bad of a run as I've seen any team ever. I don't care about first year. I'm just talking about relative to market expectation. 8 straight non-covers by nearly 16 points per game. I mean, it is bad. I tweeted on Saturday, I think Manny Diaz is better than Mario. I mean, the team didn't quit last year, at least. It is. There's no redeeming quality to lay your hat on. With that being said, I bet them this week. I bet them +3, and I think.
I mean, it's like they're like model breaking the. This is like how the triple option has like broken the pot. I mean, they're playing so far below their roster and expectation. It's like like just impossible of like going up again. I mean, it was again Van Dyke gets ruled in and Miami gets steamed again through the 7.
Yeah.
I mean, there was real big money taking that down. I mean, Circa popped to 5.5 before the game. To move from 7 to 5.5 at Circa on Saturday an hour before the game takes a lot of money. And it was pouring in, and again, that game was over in 60 seconds. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I know they've pumped so much money into those, Cristobal and Gaddis and their recruiting class. You have to bring them back. It's like, it's so bad where it's like, it's like the first year quarterback you bring in who's just so terrible that you can't really see. You like, is this ever gonna happen? Can you see the light at the end of the tunnel? I don't know if I can see it. Like, it's been that bad, and the culture is that poisonous where, like, as you said, these guys they're not even, like, you watch that game against Florida State, like, guys aren't even, like, going in for challenging blocks or anything. This team has straight quit. I don't know. And maybe they have enough, as you said. I mean, to open up a 3-point dog to a Georgia Tech team that, like, is in the absolute, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know. I mean, they're going to bring them back because they had so much money, but I don't know if I can see it. Even if they give, $600 million to this recruiting class, I don't know if I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a great idea, though. Let's give a bunch of recruits $500,000, $1 million.
It ain't working for Jimbo at Texas A&M because those guys are, I got $1 million in the bank. I'm going to smoke. Jimbo's not letting me play. I'm going to smoke a blunt in the locker room. I don't care what he says. I got $1 million in the bank.
And even then, I question his X's and O's. So I think it's a bad situation. Sure, it'll get a little bit better, but I mean, he was hired to win conference championships. They're nowhere near that. Are you kidding me? And don't give me this year one crap because Mike Elko at Duke, kicked their ass. So, and he's in year one. And he inherited an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, Duke was literally non-competitive in any ACC game last year. So, yeah, they got their work cut out for them, to say the least. Another one, Onion Man in the chat. I saw that pop up, 8-1 Miami to win the ACC. I have that ticket. In fact, I ran out of toilet paper a couple weeks ago. So that's where that one went. A couple more I want to get to, and then I'll ask you if there was any other games. Best bets, Arizona State, UCLA over, easy. Navy, by you, really good call. Navy, in fact, missed a couple field goals. Easy winner. San Diego State, little short, but damn, Texas Tech was up.
That's the one that, like,
that bothered me, man.
I think they would have won the game. I think they should if Burnt Morton stays in there. I think they were outplaying. And then why did they go to Tyler Shuck instead of Donovan Smith? He hadn't played in forever. He's terrible. He was awful. Why? I don't understand why would Smith has played like half the season.
I don't get it. Morton plays the whole game. I think, again, you're right. Texas Tech wins the game outright. And that was still with an 82-yard punt return, touchdown and stuff with TCU. I mean, I want to fade the hell out of TCU. And then, we'll get to this game, but, I'll just mention it briefly. And then, they correctly get a 7-point underdog this week against Texas. I got to think that 15, 20 years ago, that line ain't 7, right. Maybe 3 Texas.
Right.
TCU's overrated. It's a shame we lost that one. Really is. But I did want to give you props for the Navy. I was on the other side, actually. And Navy clearly was the right side. So kudos. Tip my cap to you. Is there any other games that caught your eye this weekend before we talk week 11?
I'm a little bit confounded now of what's going to happen here in the AAC because there's some key games going on this weekend. And I know Tulane, has looked good, but they again another win versus Tulsa, but now they've got this stretch of UCF, SMU, who's obviously hit stride, and then Cincinnati at the end of it. So AAC totally up for grabs here, and I don't know how it's going to play. I don't even have they could win any of those games. They could lose any of those games.
Yep.
So that's one that I am very interested to see how that plays out here. AAC down the stretch.
Well, let's get into it then. Let's talk that game, UCF Tulane. I have an outside the box type of thought there. I mean, Tulane's an early favorite. Over's gotten money. I am part of the over. Circa opened 47.5. Come on, that was a bad line.
Yeah.
They didn't have too many bad. I made 48 bets, but there wasn't a lot where I said, oh, this is just terrible. That was probably one out of a couple that I took advantage of. My outside the box handicap here, and I'll wait and see if a 3 pops. I'm going to be on UCF. I think Mikey Keene's better than John Rice Plumlee. He's more consistent. Certainly John Rice Plumlee has a higher ceiling, but he's got a lower floor. He turns the football over. He struggles in the pass game. Mikey Keene won a bunch of games for UCF last year. He's won already a couple games for him this year. I kind of like UCF in the game. I mean, Tulane, there's going to be a lot of publicity around that game, hoopla. UCF as a program is used to it. So I kind of like UCF here, but I'm going to wait and see if I can get a 3 out of it to get to the window there. What say you?
Yeah, no, we're aligned there. I'm kind of waiting to see if a 3 pops to bet. I agree. Plumlee is one. He has such obvious deficiencies in the pass game that I think a good Tulane defense would be able to control them. So I agree with you. I'm kind of leaning towards hoping it's Keene and being more bullish on UCF than it is because he was legitimate against a Memphis team that, again, not a great defense, but they don't win or cover that game without that type of passing offense against a Memphis team that can really score. I was on the wrong side of that when I had some Memphis.
Right side, the market downgraded UCF 3 points. That I disagree with you. You can say, he might be a slight downgrade. He's not a 3-point downgrade.
For sure. No, I agree with that. And so, yeah, I think he gives them a little bit more schematic flexibility for them to do more on offense because they were super, the games they've lost this year, they're just super limited if Plumlee, isn't able to run. And, again, they'll put up 70 spots on teams that can't defend or, have trouble with the tempo. But, so that's one that, I agree with you. Kind of waiting on to see if 3 pops there and probably lean the UCF side.
That one is at 3:30 on ESPN2. Let's go 3:30 CBS. I'm anxious to hear your take on this one. I didn't get to the window on the side yet because I don't know how to react. Alabama's at Ole Miss. Alabama's laying 11.5. I did bet the under. It was up at 66.5. I don't know. Just a pure numbers bet for me. Markets agreed so far. We'll see what happens later in the week. Typically, Alabama off a loss. I'm running the window to bet Alabama. They've covered 8 straight in that role by double digits per game on average. I don't know this time. They're out of it. No playoff. It's gone. So I don't know what the motivation is. I'm not a big guy about quitting during the season, but does Bryce Young need to play the rest of the season? I don't know. I could see him not really wanting to play. I get it, Saban. You want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but Ole Miss is off a bye. I think we mentioned part of the reason why we think the dynasty of Alabama being clear-cut number 1 is kind of over with. I think that these other teams are smelling blood in the water. Alabama's not as invincible as what they used to be. Teams just aren't afraid of them as what they were just 2-3 years ago. So, I kind of want to bet Ole Miss. I haven't gotten there yet. Have you bet this one?
No, and this is when, look aheads were, 13.5, 14. You see it open, a lot shorter. And, I might think, a strict number, but again, you're talking yourself into the Alabama, a lot of underwhelming performances, back-to-back road games, now going into Ole Miss, who's off a bye, who can run the ball, I think their offense has been improving as the season goes. I don't think I agree with part of me is do I want to take the Ole Miss here and then the 11.5 to 12? I'm not going to find myself in Alabama in this game. I tell you what, it'll be a pass or nothing for me. Because I can't with the
Pass
way their
nothing.
offense
That's the same thing, buddy.
Yeah, no, pass from Mississippi here on this one because I can't get to laying this number with this Alabama team right now. And so I can't get there. I know some people are gonna, depending on how, if you're using priors on that and their model on that, I can't get there. So for me, it's probably one I'm just gonna sit back and let go.
I agree with Crestman. 14. I'm at Ole Miss there. Haven't gotten it. We'll see. It's in that dead number situation.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see where it moves. 14 for me would be a take on Ole Miss. I don't know what Alabama's frame of mind is. I'm old now, so I don't even pretend to get in the thought process of what a 20-year-old is thinking like right now. So be interesting. The offseason is going to be interesting for Alabama. Big game in the Pac-12, Washington and Oregon. Oregon's dominated the series. Oregon has dominated pretty much everybody they face since Georgia. They look like the best team in the Pac-12. They're laying a hefty number here. I watched Washington last week, wasn't overly impressed. In fact, they failed to cover 5 straight games, Washington. They're winning but not covering. But now they're getting a relatively healthy point spread here. I'm not involved. I mean, a little bit of early money's on Oregon here. I kind of understand that. Are you part of that early Oregon money?
Yeah, you know what? A small play at 12 on the open of thinking it, but again, now that it's one I thought it was thin at 13 and a half, 13. I wouldn't be. I know our friends at Proline there with 11 and a half. That would be a play for me.
Friends at Proline, love them
on Oregon, but
I'm still thinking it's last week. You know how it moves. That time in Canada moves a little bit slower.
Yeah, I just say it's a team that is just going to get dominated in the trenches on both sides. I agree with Washington's defense is really bad. I think Oregon will be able to do whatever they want. And on the flip side, it's like Penix has to be, superhuman in some of these games to be able to compete. And it's, when you're going up against the Cals and the Arizona States and that I think you can trade blows. It's not a Washington team I want to get. If this cross 14, then I just thought strictly numbers play. Would I then say you can get involved on Washington, sure, but I think it's in a dead zone right now in terms of playing at either side. But I agree with you. I think Oregon get a great shot to run the table, and if they do run the table, then they're probably finding themselves in the playoff. You
think even with that loss to Georgia, that'd be bad for your Tennessee bet?
Well, but I think they can both. I think they can both. If Ohio State beats
you're
Michigan,
saying the loser of the Ohio State Michigan game's out.
I think so.
What if Michigan loses and it's like a 3-point loss in overtime?
I still think Tennessee's the much better resume than what Michigan has. You got wins at LSU, Bama, Pitt. Like Michigan's second best win is let's say they don't beat Ohio State. What is their best win? Penn State, and then the second best win is Illinois, maybe?
Yeah,
it used to be.
You're right. Yeah. They'll probably get punished, and probably deservedly so, for that non-conference schedule this year.
Listen, a lot of great teams in the Mountain West. Colorado State, Hawaii. Hey, there's no easy games in the Mountain West.
Connecticut might be bowl eligible. Propping that strength of schedule up for Jimmy and the boys there. Unbelievable. That's sad. Should have scheduled somebody. So I get you win that argument. I hear you on that one. Let's talk another big game. TCU Texas. This is one I wanted. I anticipated Sunday morning. I'm going to be involved. I'm going to bet Texas. I want Texas, even though oh my goodness, I had to sweat that Kansas State game. The only reason I'm not at Texas to the window yet is because I don't trust Sark with a big lead. I could see Texas dominating this game, but then again, they were dominating last week again, and I had to sweat out a last possession against Kansas State, consistently blowing big leads year after year, game after game. I think TCU's a total fraud. The line's telling you that they're a touchdown underdog here. Did you get involved? We haven't seen it. I thought it was a good opening number. It's 7. Circa opened 7. We're sitting at 7. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest game of the week, and hardly any line movement. That's telling you it's a pretty good number. Did you bet it yet?
Nope, nothing out of. I agree with you. It's one that you're hoping to get a short Texas number and jump in. It's a good, and this is the time of year, week 11, where you're just not going to get a lot of off numbers or up numbers, and especially with the sharper crews in Vegas opening numbers nowadays, like it's harder to find soft stuff this late in the year, and I thought they opened it right. Gun to my head, would I lay the 7? Yeah, but I'm not. I probably won't have a position. It's one that I'll obviously have it on the screen and probably look to trade it live because I think 7's fair.
If you don't believe us, the numbers are tighter. Circa's opening up sides $10,000 a pop. They're telling you that, hey, it's pretty tough to win. I mean, our numbers are a little sharper than what they were just a month ago, 6 weeks ago. I mean, I know that's more in your bankroll range. You're firing 20 of them at $10,000 a pop, but that's saying something to me that they increased that load there a little bit. Any other games that you're looking at? I think a couple of interesting ones we'll get to as far as lines. I'll mention them briefly here. LSU only a 3-point road favorite at Arkansas. I think it's priced in the flat spot. I will say this: somebody must really not like me at Westgate because they're sitting at 3.5. I popped it. I took Arkansas plus 3.5. They popped it down to 3. Somebody bet it right back up to 3.5. So they're taking a position. Was that you taking a position against me, or was that the boys there, Murray and company, taking a position against me? Because I'll take 3.5 with Arkansas. I do expect LSU to be a little flat. I mean, that was one of their biggest win since their national championship season, to say the least. Yeah,
no, I would actually lean with you there at the 3.5. I don't have some. I know, some guys that I bet with this morning were betting a little LSU. It got down to there were some 2.5s around. I don't have a position. I tend to agree with you. I think like when you factor in Arkansas, obviously they the laydown loss and against Liberty and then LSU big game. But this is one that is basically a look ahead. It's around a pick, even -1, +1 there, and now crossing all the way over the 3. I just can't get there. Maybe this is one that I'm too down on, but I think when you're talking about night game LSU, insane atmosphere, to now noon game on the road at Arkansas, it's one of those where I think those road games or those night games at LSU are kind of famous for having maybe the best home field advantage in college football there. So yeah, it's a little bit. I think there's actually a smattering of 3.5 out there, and I agree with you. That'd be a small play on Arkansas for me.
Yeah, and I mean, just Arkansas first half might make sense too. Kind of a sleepy type start, maybe first half under too. Your sleepy start, maybe even for both teams, 11 o'clock local kick time there. Another game I wanted to get to, not that I got a big play on it, but shows you that North Carolina is pretty overrated, that they're 3.5-point underdog to Wake Forest. Wake Forest team that I bet on last week. Turnovers killed them again. Turnovers was a story. They're -3 again after being -6 the week before. So they're probably a little bit under the radar, but the market this time of year is on top of it. I mean, I was expecting the line to be closer to pick. I thought I'd be laying it with Wake Forest. It's not. It's 3.5. I'm not touching it. Did you bet this one at all?
Nope, same story. You know what? This is TCU Texas all over again. Was hoping to get a discounted Wake Forest number, didn't get it, and can't really get myself to. It's a Wake Forest team that again when you underperform so many games, it's just at some point you are who you are. So is this a game that a month or 5 weeks ago I would have told you that I think Wake Forest could run them out, is a significantly better team? Yes. But again, we get to these, you get so many data points down week 11 where Wake Forest just isn't as good as I thought they could be. And again, their performance against Clemson doesn't look as impressive as it did. So and it's a North Carolina team that what do we know they can do? They can score. So this is one that I'll obviously be back and forth. I would say if there's one matchup I think that really can lead, like Wake Forest ground game has been consistent throughout the year. It's a weak point North Carolina. North Carolina's got some injuries on the defensive front, so I would lean Wake Forest. But it's one that I would have liked to play, -1, -2, -130 money line. Well, now that across the 3, just got to pass for me. Again, same thing. It'll be one I'll have on there. We'll try and get closer to a pick live.
What's your thoughts on the total? I took a little piece under 78.5.
I'm with you because I think Wake Forest, again, going to try and run a lot, which can lead to, but So many things I know we just saw SMU and Houston score, 280 or whatever it was there, but for a total of the high 70s, so many things got to go right on the game script that you can't have, red zone turnover, fumble. It just, things have to say so on script for those that I agree with. I thought the 78.5 was a touch high. And again, I would still even lean, Circa's at 77. It'd be a little bit of a lean to the under for me, but I haven't actually played it yet.
There might be a little bit of past history in there. The last 2 meetings between these two teams, I think, have gone over 100 points, each of them. So maybe there's a little bit of the reason, but I just play numbers. Numbers said take under there. I got a snarky comment here for Holt in the chat. How is Brian Kelly typically in these spots? I don't know, because he didn't win big games in Notre Dame. He lost them. That's why I can't stand the guy. He didn't win a lot of big games. I mean, what he did was he won every single game when he was a favorite. I mean, the last 4 or 5 years, he just won every single game he should have. He didn't win too many games as a 2-touchdown underdog in Notre Dame. I think he won one. It was against Oklahoma over 10 years ago. So I don't know what they were flat after that game, I can tell you. They almost lost to BYU. They only won by 3, could have lost the game, but he didn't win too many big games at Notre Dame. So I don't know. When you stormed the field, and, I mean, you saw the emotion in his eye. I mean, he's basically crying in the post game. I mean, it meant a lot to him. Kudos for what he did. I'll tell you, man, I'm trying to get to some best bets here. Let me rapid fire ask you a couple games. Cincinnati, East Carolina.
I knew we were going to hit this. Yeah. I knew we were going to hit this one. I know I'm going to be with you, and I know who's the quarterback who's gonna hurt me again, but it's going to be a double.
Double? You're taking East Carolina?
Yeah. No, yeah. You with that? Go ahead. Maybe I jumped the gun here.
I wanted your take. I mean, I wanted you to talk me out of Cincinnati. I think it seems short, but you like East Carolina here?
I played some on the open there. Circa I'm too. Again, I've been anti-Cincinnati for a while. I think East Carolina's defense does one thing particularly well of kind of slowing down the run in that, and you get them in a good spot with Cincinnati here. I took some 7. I thought 6.5 was fine. I'm not gonna. Again, it's not too widely of. And does FanDuel still have? Is that an actual 6.5
is there? 6 there at Circa? It looks like.
Yeah, I thought most of the board was
6.5 at FanDuel. That looks like that's behind. I think most of the board. I mean, I agree. I see 4.5 in some spots.
Yeah, I think looking. I got down best up. Looks like Circa's around 5. So
yeah,
I was gonna best bet this at like if it's 7, 6.5 in that. But now that it's at 4.5, 5, I think it's more shaped right. But I honestly thought this was like I really thought this for me was going to be around 3.5, 4. So. I thought it had a touchdown. It was good, and I'm fine fading Cincinnati. It's an East, but hey, yeah, my record backing East Carolina in the last 3 years is about as good as my record versus Casale on Friday show. So it's a tough one for me, but I'm on the Pirates here.
I'm glad Holt brought it up and not me. Back to the Navy train against Notre Dame. I mean, I have the worst record of anybody when it comes to Notre Dame. You can talk on that one. I can tell you, I took Navy plus 17.5. I would still take Navy plus 17. If I just didn't get my ass kicked fading Notre Dame, I would say best bet, Navy. I mean, if you say it, I'm okay with it because I don't think the team can get margin. Marcus Freeman and the boys, they've proven they can get up for big games. I don't know when it comes to somebody like Navy. What say you here?
No, I'm with you. I wasn't gonna get because I know this is open to 20.5 around there, and it's kind of caught most of the seam down. But I agree. I still like 17.5 there. If you can find it, it's a Navy team. I will say part of the like when you talk triple option, and I know Navy's kind of been switching quarterbacks, but unless you have a guy like Malcolm Perry, usually. You've got these triple option teams that have 3, 4, 5 guys that can run the system, and that's what happened last week. They brought in a guy, and he was fine. They're not going to throw it all over the yard, but I agree. This has been traditionally good spots to back. And again, it's Notre Dame team that what is Navy's biggest weakness? What is it when the games that they've lost or not covered this year? It's when a team can throw it all around the park on them. That's not Notre Dame. That's not, it's come, obviously, spot coming off big Clemson that. So, yeah, these are the type of games and the type of styles that that I think backing these slow triple option teams is a good play. So I would agree. There's 17 and a half out there. I think that's still playable.
Brett in the chat says circa Colorado for the Bearcat game was 6. I didn't know they had much different point spreads in different states. I don't even know why I'm doing these shows. Just be driving around the country betting different or having runners. I have little runners like you do in your massive syndicate in different states. I did not know that. I mean, I knew that there was some different numbers. I didn't know Circuit was dealing with stuff like that.
I agree, yeah.
Let me throw another game at you. So no best bet there. You're just a lean Navy, right?
Yep.
All right. Florida State, Syracuse. Who do you like in that one?
I don't have
any. There's been some difference in the market. Original money.
I know this is one that's
saw some buyback on Syracuse at 7 this morning. I was wondering if you were part of that Syracuse buyback.
I was not. I don't have any. Action on this one. And to be honest with you, I didn't even really have a. I thought again, this is kind of like a TCU technical game we've talked like week 11 college football. I thought 6.5, 7 was about right. So I wasn't, like an inclination to buy either side right around there because I figured it'd fluctuate there. You got to play here?
I think Florida State's underrated. I guess what's holding me back a little bit is that they were so dominant against Miami. I think this is a legitimate team. I really do. I think Syracuse just facing – I mean, how many tough games in a row can you play? NC State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Pittsburgh. Now Florida State, they don't have the depth. They've lost several defensive starters. Who knows who's going to be the quarterback? I can see Florida State going in there. You obviously don't have to worry about weather in the dome. Just, significant speed advantage. I mean, I kind of like we'll talk a few more games, and I might come back to this one, and I'll rubber stamp it, but I'm more on the Florida State side here. Another ACC game I want to throw at you, Pitt, Virginia. Pitt's laying 4. Seems short to me. What do you got here? Because there was original money on Virginia. Were you betting that Fighting Tony Elliott's at +6?
You think this guy was betting on Tony Elliott this year? No. I tell you what, Tony. Lucky UNC the under came in because I was actually bet some 6.5 at post last week on UNC when UVA was missing like their 5 best skill players and they still somehow a nice job Gene Chizik to let UVA backdoor with a bunch of walk-ons running around out there. So yeah, at least the 1-on-1 the under came home, but. Yeah, I agree with you. It would be Pitt or nothing for me. I think the Pitt defense would be able to basically control this game and what Virginia does. And I mean, the one standout position for Virginia this year has been their defensive line, which has been good, which has a lot of the plus advanced metrics. But Pitt's a team for me that I think would buy on here. I think UVA's got a couple of covers in a row here, so I'm fine fading them again. I agree with you. I think this number's short. I thought it should be closer up there around the 6.5 range.
Fair enough. We might come back to that one. Let me throw this game at you. I gave this out on other shows. It's back up. Market originally agreed with me. They're saying Brad Powers, he sucks. I like Rutgers against Michigan State. I'm seeing 10.5 in the market. I'll take the hook. Are you kidding me? I mean, Michigan State, kudos. They got the cover, the outright win. They got outplayed. I mean, Illinois had 4 different drives inside the 40-yard line, come up with 0 points. Rutgers, look, I mean, Wimsatt concerns me because of the turnovers, and that's what did him in. So, I mean, that is the hang-up here, but they played Michigan pretty tough. A lot of tough. I mean, because there's a lot of other big games on, I'm sure some of the people weren't watching it. They played Michigan pretty tough there for about 35 minutes. So, I just think defensively, outside the Michigan game, Rutgers has been pretty solid defensively. That would be, talk me out of this one.
No, you know what? I'm again from a number side of it. I'd lean that way. I haven't actually fired on. It was one that actually yesterday got up to like the 12s and I didn't fire on it. And then regretted it.
13.
Yeah. So kind of had some some regret there, not playing it there, and just haven't fired on it since. But that would be the only side I could play. I will say that, and you nailed it there. I don't think Wimsatt is ready to be a starter in college. I've actually one of my guys who I work with from Jersey, I was calling him DeJuan Mathis Wimsatt. Like I don't see it with him. Like I mean I know it's early. I know he's young. But I haven't seen any. They're not utilizing him in the run. Like they're not running RPO. He's not taking all right now. He's just a bad pocket passer, and they're not really utilizing a lot of his skill set. I would actually, to be honest with you, I like backing. I know Noah Vedril's not great. I like backing Rutgers a little bit better when I can get a known quantity, even if he's a subpar Big Ten quarterback than the variance there. But again, Greg Schiano, good coach. They have a good staff there. They gave Michigan, they're pulling their onside kick, had a block punt. That was good setup. So I agree with you. I would Rutgers at 10.5 or better would be the lean for me.
I'll rubber stamp it. I'll take it as a best bet. As long as it's 10.5, and I'm seeing 10.5. In fact, I even see an 11 out there. I'll take 10.5 Rutgers as a best bet. Do you have a best bet?
I'm going to go, and you know what, baby? I'm going to the Mountain West, the Joey K's conference, the Chris Barrett one that, we get to week 11. It's hard to like. I took, and I can't believe this number was that. I took New Mexico plus 24, going to Air Force. 23's out there. I'm fine with 23. I'm being dead serious. I think they have a shot to win this game outright. I'll give you the reasons. One, Rocky Long's their DC. He's been has a career of being great against Yacht. He did it at San Diego State. He's done it at New Mexico. They kind of they don't run a triple option, but they run somewhat of a rush-based scheme that has some triple option concepts. So this is kind of what I would compare it to, like, not academy versus academy, but very similar schemes. A lot of the same concepts you're seeing in practice every day. So if you took any triple option, doesn't matter. You took any military school and you played them against each other, like. It's all like usually over 10 is an auto bet, and now you're getting 23, 22.5 in a game with a low total.
37 the total.
Yeah, and again, Air Force off of the Army game. Hazik Daniels was banged up at the end of that game. He was limping around, and he took a lot of shots in that game. And it's again, New Mexico team that I actually went through this. In their last three of their 4 losses, they outgained Wyoming, they outgained Utah State, they outgained Colorado State, and they lost all 3 by double digits, even though they had more yards per play.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, I usually don't really like games like this late in the season. I really like this one. I played 24 pretty big. I would still play 23. Again, this is the best bet for me, and I'm not joking around. I think I'll have it in a money line round robin. I think they can potentially be in this game late.
Totally agree. Couldn't agree more. That was gonna be a game. I actually gave it out on another show this morning. One of the reasons why it's not sitting there at 24. I apologize, but for everything you said is why I like New Mexico here. And it's just not the yardage. I mean, I've watched these games. I had New Mexico on Saturday. They're winning outright against Utah State as a big dog at halftime. It's turnovers consistently.
Yes.
Final scores look not great. They threw a pick 6 in the final minute against UNLV. I was in attendance. They threw a pick 6 in the final minute against Wyoming. I mean, dare I say they're one of the most underrated teams in the country. And I'm getting a huge number in a good spot. I got a matchup here where Rocky Long should know how to defend it. And we got Air Force that has not performed well as a big favorite this year. They've already lost twice outright as a big favorite. So I love it. That double best bet there, easily.
Double best bet? I usually don't. I'm not one of those like, oh, this line's 10 points. I think I would bet this down to 17.5. That's how much I bet. I love 24. I bet 23. I bet it down to 21 and not have any qualms about it. I would be shocked. And again, I would be shocked if they lost this game by 4 touchdowns. It seems to be again, it'd be one of those multiple turnovers and that bad variance game where it's just tough for a team like Air Force to get that kind of margin against a team that runs kind of the same scheme. So yeah, this is one for me. I like this one. Well, I'm glad we're aligned there because I like that one quite a bit.
I love it. How many points do we need here for New Mexico? Matt, touchdown?
10
points. We got a
Air
winner.
Force could have scored 40. What? The total 37 in some play. I don't know. Can they score a field goal? If they score 10 points and don't cover, I would be absolutely silent. So yeah, I don't see a lot of scenarios where they can't they're not in position to cover this game or even be in this game. So yeah, I don't know. This number is wild to me. I can't wait for 8 New Mexico turnovers to and it'd be
That's the only hang up
45-0.
again here is the turnovers. I've seen it constantly, but my goodness, I see signs. Again, I watched them in person against UNLV. They were up on double digits on UNLV. They just run out of gas. They don't have a lot of talent. But man, I see that they're well coached. I'll put it that way. They do lack some talent. Any other games catching your eye here for best bet material?
No, and I just to put a bow on, I know that they don't have great wide receiver talent. They don't have great skill position talent. Like they are not a talent, but it's one of those games. Like, when Air Force plays Army or Navy, do those teams have great skill? But no, they don't. None of them do. They run into each other for 60 minutes and bang their heads against each other, and that's kind of what I'm expecting here. And we're getting over 3 touchdowns. So yeah, that's that I want to get your take. I'm not gonna have a best bet here, but my boys Fresno and Mountain West. I get Mountain West like crack for me. Go against UNLV. I faded UNLV last week early. They basically got a bunch of guys back. The team looked much better. They played San Diego State pretty tight. Where are you on the end now? Fresno got their guys back 2 weeks ago, finally, and absolutely buried Hawaii. Where are you on this number? Would you grab that 11 early at Circa? I see it's mostly 9.5 now. Been trading back and forth here around 10.
Nah, somebody beat me. I took 10. Somebody beat me, took the 11. It was pretty competitive on Sunday. I was a little surprised because it wasn't very competitive at Circa the week prior. I mean, I just went through the whole board and bet what I needed to this week. And I couldn't even get to the MAC games. Right at the top of the board, somebody was betting into the totals already. 10, I just think UNLV is entirely different, but you could say the same for Fresno. I mean, I watch a lot of UNLV, probably more than I should. I'll be in attendance, season tickets. I'm down to my final couple games. I'm not going to renew the tickets.
Whoa!
I'm gonna see a
best season in 10 years. You're not going to renew.
I'm not. I just, it's too much of a hassle. I've had season tickets for 2 years because Allegiant is on. Have you been to Allegiant yet?
I haven't. I heard good things though.
Yeah, it's amazing, and the tickets are so cheap. So to put in perspective, the tickets for the Raiders, same seats for the Raiders games would have cost me $28,000. It cost me $500 for UNLV. So I went to some UNLV games. 2 years, I am yet to make a fourth quarter of a game. So I can't stay. I got a short window. I've left at halftime multiple times. I left after the first quarter of a game already. I think we're going to see a good game. So yeah, I'm on the take here. I'll take 10, but I think there could be value on both sides. Here's what I'll say. UNLV, after this game, those final 2 games, I think they roll it up on Nevada and Hawaii. They're they're going to have to get the bowl eligibility.
Yep.
And there's going to be a sense of urgency. So I lean with them here. I'm really going to like them the next 2 weeks. Fresno, with the healthy Jake Hayner, they might be the best team in the Mountain West. Boise's up there, but Fresno's pretty freaking good the last couple of weeks, especially starting with the fourth quarter against San Diego State.
I agree.
I'm trying to think if there's any other. I totally agree with the 2 best bets we gave out. I just feel like we should give out another. Is there anything else catching your eye or no?
Let me go through. So I'll give you a Maction tidbit here. Our friends here at the Hammer have some info. I don't think Daquan Finn is good, and the early movement would tell you that that I don't think Daquan Finn is going to play for Toledo this week. However, this total has started to dip down under 50 here. And, there's no weather in Toledo this week. The Midwest, can be a little, November weather here can get a little tricky, but it doesn't look like anything's going to be I haven't fired on it yet. If I see a 49, I have to play the over on a Toledo game. The backup quarterback looked better than I thought he would.
He did.
They're not going to change the pace in that. So I know Finn's out. This is the ones that I'm on the fence here of playing the over, and actually if I can get a 10, I will probably play Toledo there. So this is one for me that I think is a little bit too aggressive of an adjustment on Toledo without Finn. I
like the over, so I agree with you. If you said fire best bet, I would, because I've already fired at a worse number than what it is now.
Hey, you know what? Wait, we're giving it a baby. Like, there's some 49.5s there. Lock it in. Best
Yeah,
bet. I think this is dipped too
best
far
bet.
down. If you told me any Toledo game in the MAC was going to have a total under 50, I would have told you that would not have been true. But here we are, and so listen. I know Finn is obviously great for a MAC quarterback, but I don't
Gleason
think.
kid's fine. He was originally at Georgia Tech.
Hey, listen. I mean, hey, the kid can play, but I don't know if he's deserving of this much respect here in terms of the adjustment. So yeah, let's play that over.
All right, over. A couple questions I'll hit, and then we'll get out of here. Colorado 65-1 on the money line against SC. Yeah, I haven't seen too many higher money lines for a Power 5 game. I think a couple years ago, Rutgers was what, a 50-point underdog against Ohio State. So I'm sure that one was, if they even posted it, that one would have been significantly higher. But I mean, Colorado's terrible.
Yeah, I don't. You need give me maybe 650 to 1. I'll throw a few bucks on it, but no, I think USC could win that game with Lincoln Riley at quarterback.
Yeah. Real quick trip in the chat. Caesars Ohio State 7 against Michigan. My power ratings are going to say Ohio State there, but I don't know. My eye test says I'm worried that Michigan can out-physical Ohio State. I mean, I'm worried about it.
I have actually throughout the year accumulated in some of these look-ahead markets a pretty significant position on Michigan at anywhere from preseason 14.5 to even as a couple weeks ago 10.5, 11.5. I think 7's right though. Like I'm not. I thought the whole year the line should be around 7. And now that's probably right is about 7. So I think that's probably where it lands come game week.
Agree. I think if I'm an Ohio State guy, I'm worried about Michigan. I see some softness about Ohio State that would concern me. One more, Crestman, Caleb Williams 7-1 to win the Heisman. We normally talk Heisman futures.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get.
Man, I don't know. I want to get your thoughts on this because I thought I was in a really good spot. Now I'm concerned that Stetson Bennett, Bo Nix, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I mean, any of those 3 guys win, I'm dead. I'm going to go for 12 in the Heisman when I thought I had a really good portfolio. I mean, I already have Caleb at 15-1, so sure, but I'm here to tell you, I think USC loses to UCLA, and if they don't, I think Notre Dame beats them. I think Notre Dame's a bad matchup for USC. I know maybe Notre Dame can't go score for score. I'm here to tell you they might not have to. USC's offense might not see the field. Notre Dame just runs, triple option style, a bunch of 7-8 minute drives. So I've already bet Caleb Williams. So yeah, sure. I hope he wins it, but I think they're going to lose a game or two between UCLA and the Notre Dame games. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I'm with. I think basically, I lined it up when I was talking to Heisenmarker earlier, where somebody says I think Stroud's in the lead, in the catbird seat here, to where if he wins out, he probably wins it. The options below that are if Stroud loses, Stetson Bennett if they win out, Blake Corum if they beat Ohio State and he has a huge game, or Caleb Williams if they win out and he keeps putting up video game numbers. So I think Hooker. Again, as much as I would love to see it, so selfishly, I think he's kind of on the outside looking in now. So for me, it's probably Stroud. The other 3 options would be in some order: Corum, Bennett, or Caleb. And it's very tough for me to see anybody outside of that being able to make a late run here. Knicks and DTR, they're in the Pac-12. They're already teams with losses. Like people don't like. The most people that vote are on the East Coast. They're not watching, Pac-12 After Dark with Bo Nix, putting up 500 yards with Cal. Like, no one's seen that game. So
when are the votes due? Is it after championship week?
Yeah, the Monday right after championship week. So that's why it's like if Bennett goes undefeated and has a big game versus LSU, can he sneak in there? Same thing where, if Stroud beats Michigan and then, has a huge game versus, Illinois or Purdue. So I think those are probably the 2 options unless Ohio State loses to Michigan.
Tripp mentions Drake May. I mean, statistically, he's right there. I just don't know. I guess my thought process is I don't know. I'm not running the window to make a bet right now this week because it seems to change week after week. I'll be betting and trying to hedge off stuff as we get closer. The final week of the regular season, championship week, I'll probably make some moves there, but not right now for me.
Yeah,
80-1 Stetson, first quarter of Oregon game. Kudos to Mickey Hill there. I did not bet Stetson Bennett. Did you bet Stetson Bennett to win the Heisman?
I have some Stetson Bennett, not a ton.
There you go.
So I would, but again, I'm not as I'm not as bullish on the case as some people. Unfortunately, somebody I know bet a huge number in the summer. I trolled him for 6 months, and so I'd basically emotionally hedged some Bennett, so I didn't get buried there. But yeah, I bet some Stetson at a few different prices, but I'm still. I think it would still surprise. I just think unless Stroud loses to Michigan, people are going to default vote for him.
Good point. And that'll close out the points. We'll finish on a high note here. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Joey Knish. I'm Brad Powers. We just hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network. Talk to you next week.
Good stuff.